Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Finally, the last session, huh? I understand you might be super tired from the jet lag and endless emails from the clients who are not carrying you out of town, and etc. So I'll do my best to give my presentation very concisely to deliver the findings we had. Today, I want to present about the consumer decision journey project we've done for the last 1.5 years in Korea. Before I start my presentation, let me have 1 minute to introduce my company, because I think not so many of you have heard of IDINCU Corporation ever before. We are leading mobile research company in Korea. Since 2011, we started mobile market research using smartphone, and now we have very strong technological capabilities in-house because we craft every single piece of a product to collect the data and analysis and data visualization in-house, which make us successful to compress the whole research process within a day. It means when you just finish editing the questionnaires, the result will be delivered within an hour. So for average, when we conduct a nationwide market research in Korea, 1,000th number of representative sample projects is completed within 2 or 3 hours. So that's what we do. Let's proceed. So many of you have heard of a consumer decision journey a lot. Maybe there is more than 5 sessions yesterday and today who covers the consumer decision journey as well. So I want to put focus on the consumer decision journey in mobile era, which means there should be a lot of past purchase in terms of consumers. However, there might be some specific sector and specific categories which is impacted more by mobile infrastructure. So let me give an example. Let's suppose you are watching House of Cards on Netflix. So you saw a very gorgeous jacket Kevin Spacey is wearing. So you're curious of it. What's that jacket from? Maybe Armani? So you might chat to friends, or you might talk to your wife who is watching together. And you start Googling during the watch. So this is the #1 touch point of consumer decision journey in mobile. And secondly, after the search, you found something. There is already a question in Quora with a same question asking where is the jacket's brand? And there is even a SKU number on it. Let's suppose do that. And after a couple of days, when you go to the mall, you go to the brand retail shop. And you try it on, and you take a picture of it, and send it to your wife, and asking, how do you like it? But she's not asking. Maybe she's very busy carrying our kids at the food court. So you are not confident enough to decide the payment at the time, so you left with nothing on hand. However, when you go back to the house, you might be think of it for a long night and eventually make a payment through the mobile application. So in this journey, there were 5 times of points you used the mobile. So even though the transaction is not completed within a mobile application, it means this impact is much more than the transaction volume itself. For instance, in Korea, 3% of retail transactions are completed within mobile application. However, we are assuming that more than 30% of the retail transactions are affected by mobile. This is Korea. You know, more than 95, almost 95% of economically active people are already using smartphone, which means smartphone is the most important tool to understand consumer in Korea, and it is, of course, the future of most of countries whose penetration rate is lower than Korea. So I do believe our findings on these projects might be very localized, but at the same time, it should and it will give some impact and inspiration to other countries as well. So let me proceed to the methodology of the project. The project was done by 3 times, and it was the collaboration with McKinsey & Company Korea office and IDINCU Corporation. So the first study was kicked off at the end of 2013. And it was the sole methodology at the time was in the moment mobile diary using open survey platform. However, when we completed analysis of the result, there were still a lot of questions that could not be answered with our data. So we decided to collect more. And I will elaborate on this part more afterwards, but I want to put emphasis on when you collect the passive data from their mobile devices, you should be very careful not in terms of privacy, in terms of the processing effort. Because there are huge potential of passively collected data. However, it comes along with huge perilous on your DP team. So you should be very careful to select the right spectrum of data that can be plotted much easier, and that can be integrated easier with your survey data. So our first study was for the general population, and the second study that is done last summer was for the mobile shopper only. We want to get deeper inside the mobile commerce. And recently, 2 months ago, we decided to increase our exposure to the general population again. And from the second project and to the last project, we both conducted open survey and open tracking, which is the passive data collecting platform of IDINCU Corporation. So through these 3 projects, we collected more than 17,000 test to purchase cases overall, and I'll show you afterwards with the result. So this was how we made the in-the-moment diary survey. The design was, we want to collect the data of the moment of purchase, including why, when, where, what. And most of these data are flatted. However, there is still stacked data. So when we want to analyze the stacked data, we should put some more context on it. We should understand more context of consumers when they make the purchase decision. So that's why we also collected the passive data like this. We collected the usage data of application, and we also collected the search query information. And the last thing we collected is about browsing history. Many of you or someone might be curious that why you're not collecting geolocation and so many more. That is because it is not proper and it is not feasible for these projects, which means technically possible is totally different when it comes to the analysis of the project. So we want to make it very concisely to deliver the result on time to our clients. So application usage can be plotted very well, and search query is really important because it implies a lot of intention of consumers when they search. They have intention. There is no search query without intention. So, and the last thing, browsing history was the most hardest part of, what can we call that, the analysis. So those were only for the supplementary understanding of their behaviors. So when they pulled their purchasing data to the platform, we overlooked the 1 hours plus and 1 hours minus from the purchase point. So this is the panel's perspective to participate this project. Actually, that is the screenshot of actual screenshot of our application. So there is 2 daily push notification to our participants. Daily push is sent at the morning and at the night, and between them, there should be numerous pool-typed information that is gathered, that is inputted by our panelists themselves. So some people make 0 purchasement on specific day, and some people make more than 10 purchasement decisions every day. Well, not every day, on specific day. But we only count the case with purchase value is more than $5. So the number I suggested to you was the total cases, 17,000 cases during the 3 project period. However, when we excluded those kinds of data, it is a little bit becoming lower, like 15,000, but it is still a lot though. And then I want to explain what happens when you use the application usage information and when you integrate this information to the survey data. Actually, those logos is some of the most renowned and biggest retailers in Korea. And it demonstrates that how long your consumers stay in your application and which part of their journey in mobile started using their specific application. But when you think easily, it might be thinking like this. Oh, if our consumers stay longer in our application, it is good. However, it might not. Because when we made a push survey who had a very interesting pattern of the application usage, we figured out that a significant portion of consumers are using specific application longer because of the loading latency, which means their product managers could be thinking, oh, our consumers is using a lot of time on our application, so it is a good sign for us. However, it is not that proportional to the business result like this. So when you retarget based on flatted data of the passively collected data, you can figure out, like, you can analyze like this. And secondly, it is a very interesting web browser log of specific participants. And sorry for the Korean, but I can explain you. The red column demonstrates the payment process. And in this case, someone made 3 trials before the payment, which means there are still a lot of and high barriers to mobile payment in specific countries, and then that impacts the loss of your business. And when you conduct a user survey, it could not expose and it could not deliver the dark side of the moon who are not complete the transaction. You can only know the information of people who completed the transaction. So when you look deeper of their browsing history or their application usage history, you can learn more. And very interestingly, there is also a very fun fact about this project. So a lot of people are using the retailer mobile application, but sometimes they changed their favorite application. For what reasons? What do you think? For what reasons who changed the favorite retail application? What do you think? When there is no product, what you want, regardless of the price, which means you need as many as possible of SKUs and products on your retail categories, even though those prices are not that competitive. So this kinds of information could not be derived from the traditional Q&A type survey before. So lastly, I want to share some key takeaway, which is composed of commercial takeaway and methodological takeaway. First commercial takeaway is very strong trend of mobile purchase, which is when we divide into the purchase type into three, periodical and planned and impulsive purchasement in mobile platform is significantly higher in online. So this is the real quote of one participant. He was the white-collar female working in Seoul area. She says, I usually launch a mobile commerce application during my commute. I occasionally make an unplanned buying when I browse to this deal section. And secondly, this is more important factor, and it might be very universal phenomenon around the world, which is the length of the past purchase is much shorter in mobile. It means more people are not eager to compare the price when it comes to mobile. So when we analyzed more than 1,000 past purchase cases, the number of stores or website before the transaction, before the purchase in mobile is 40% shorter than in it online. So how you design the user experiences and regardless of the price competitiveness, you can make more business opportunities in mobile like this. And second commercial takeaway might be a little bit local than previous one. But first one I want to put emphasis on is that average transaction value arises a lot between a year. So it is almost same with online. So when mobile commerce has started in specific countries, it usually goes to the lower bound of the product, which means it might be more, we can call it that, contents buying or some low price buying in the mobile channel. However, when it goes to, when the penetration going up, it is not anymore the supplementary for the online, but substitution for the online. And the last commercial takeaway from this is, yes, it is very crystal clear and it is obvious that total transaction number in mobile exceeds online within a year. So it also implies that mobile will be a substitution, not supplementary of online commerce. So when we conducted this project for 1.5 years, we confronted a lot of challenges, including technologically and also operationally. So the first one is about the panel management, because it requires a lot of resources and a lot of attention from your participants. So panel management is very essential part of total projects. So as I mentioned, actually I already mentioned about that idiom yesterday at the panel discussion. There is a huge gap between legally right and emotionally right when you collect the personal information from your participants. So it is not enough to meet a legal requirement when you collect the data. So be a human to participants is much more important than our thinking. And user mobile diary design is more complex than user Q&A type survey. You should more communicate ever than before. So we actually send the same guideline every day. And even though we send the same information every day, there is not 5 to 12% of errors who could not understand the process. And secondly, about the passive data collection. A lot of people might be thinking that passive data can change a lot and impacts a lot on understanding consumers. However, I do believe the passive data collection is just another blade, not a silver blade for the market research industry. So I do not want to under-evaluate it, but I want to put emphasis on not to over-evaluate the possibility of passive data collection. because a lot of passive data is not flatted, so it brings a lot of paralysis to your DP team, as I mentioned, when you analyze the passive data. And in terms of, when it comes to the privacy issues, you should be more transparent. What I mean by this is collecting less is not about privacy. What I mean by this is, even though you're collecting more, but at the same time you communicate with very high transparency level, it is still okay. And actually, when we communicate with our panelists with that high level of transparency, only 20% was dropped out, which means 80% of participants who got an invitation from this study accepted to provide their very personal information, including their search queries and application usage and more. And lastly, it is about what kind of data you should collect when you conduct a study. So, as I mentioned several times before, it is really easy to get into the trap to collect big data. Because technically, it is very easy to collect a lot of data. However, when you go to the client and when you go to the analysis step of the project, it can make you hell. So, I think proper data is much more important than big data. So, digital footprint has a tremendous clues on consumers. Also, it can imply a lot about the geolocation, and it can also provide rich media like photos or videos. However, when you imagine that you decode every single photos the participants sent, and every single video clip the participants sent, it is not enough to deliver the result on time, even though your budget is really high. So proper spectrum of passive data should be collected and decided in order to deliver the insight on time. So that's it. That's what I prepared today. Thank you.